Welcome back, everybody. I want to do something different today, not necessarily talking about parts or guns in general, but I want to talk about training, our Second Amendment rights, and our Second Amendment responsibilities, because I think they all go hand in hand. Now, the Second Amendment, let's get that out of the way. Written in plain English, don't know how people screw it up, especially once you read the supporting documents by the Founding Fathers. It's very clear they wanted civilians to be armed. I don't want this to get into a political discussion, but the Second Amendment says what the Second Amendment says. I don't know how people misread it, and it seems to be the people that misread it can't find anywhere else the Founding Fathers screwed the document up. Moving forward, the last thing I want to see is people go unarmed that need to be armed. The second to last thing I want to see is armed people go untrained, because I think those things do really go hand in hand together. And unfortunately, since we're not hunter-gatherers anymore per se, we don't train as much as we need to, especially people that maybe aren't civilian, law enforcement, military, or contractors or something. They probably don't train nearly as much as they do, or the training that they do go do may not be nearly what they need. Now, I have been extremely lucky over the years because of what I did in the military and being in the civilian law enforcement sector to get some pretty cool training, and have access to some training companies that were brought in either by where I worked at the time or friends of mine that work at these companies. Most people aren't going to have access to that, so we need to go out and source training opportunities. The problem is how do we weed through all of the companies out there, and how do we pick the companies that are worth spending money on? And then you have the aspect of social media, and I really think that social media, as good as it is and as many great things can come out of it, it kind of leads us down the wrong path, because not everybody is going to be as fast as, say, JJ Ricazza. You know, that guy is like a freak of nature and as fast as all get out. I saw that guy in person do magazine exchange, like a tactical exchange, faster than I could ever dream of even doing an empty gun reload. It was scary how fast that dude can manipulate a gun. Pretty cool to see somebody at that level. But is that level attainable for everybody? No. Do I think we could all vastly improve? Absolutely. And that's where training and practice, dry firing, live firing, all these things come into play. Now, when I decided to go start doing some more outside training on my own and paying for this stuff, one of the first companies I thought of was Assault Dynamics and Mike Levy. Not because of his social media following at all, even though it's pretty massive, but because of how respected he was in the community, his training methodologies, and the fact that I thought I would learn something. I thought I would take something away from that course that would make me a better shooter, better gunfighter, and help me win. And I can tell you right now, there are two specific things, one of which was an instantaneous change on that range for me. Just had to do with how I was holding the gun, because I've had some surgeries on my hands. I've had some eye issues with stigmatism. There was a one sentence thing that was said to me that changed my grip, that made an instantaneous response while firing as fast as I could. And that was huge for me. And the second one is something that I will work on long term. And I'll roll footage in here throughout, guys. You can kind of see things going on. But, you know, that choice of instructors is really difficult because there's just so much stuff out there. So going forward, when I'm going to these training classes, I want to do a video on each one. If they let me, I will bring cameras with me and try to get as much footage as I can. If they won't, I will just verbally go over the course with you guys. Luckily, Mike was cool enough to let me use my camera out there on the range, so I got some cool footage of us, some of his different target systems, some of the instruction that was going on, some of the personal instruction. He kept the class size small, which is awesome. And then he had two other people there with him, because that really, one, helps him run the range, you know, the range safety stuff, but it helps give him the opportunity to identify deficiencies with everybody, if there is any, and just kind of get you to that next level, because that's what he's looking for. He's looking to drive you out of your comfort zone, get you to the point of failure where he can back you off and say, you see how much faster you are now than what you thought you were, and now how do we improve that? So it's a constant growth, it's repetition, it's growth, it's skill stacking. And those are all things that I was very interested to learn while I was out there. And when it comes to the social media stuff, it really has kind of ruined things for some people, because we have unrealistic standards of people and of ourselves maybe at some point. Now, when it comes to social media, guys, you kind of seem to have some that are really good trainers, some that are really good parts people, some that are really good reviewers of stuff on there. And then you have some people that are kind of in the middle. Now, when I think about learning different training, different things, there's certain people that I look for in the industry or I'll ask questions of. And when you kind of see different things, I don't want to bust anybody out, make your own opinion on these things, do some research, try to look and see what you can afford, what you can go after, because there's guys that are part reviewers that maybe don't shoot the guns the best. You'll see that they're out there shooting a gun with a new part, and they're constantly changing grip in between courses of fire, or they're flat out not even looking at their target while they're shooting. They're looking at the camera to make sure they're in focus. You know, so you really have to pick and choose wisely when you're spending your hard-earned money to do things. So, you know, really do your research on these things. And that's really why I wanted to put this video out, because good or bad, I want to let as many people as I can know this was a good opportunity. It did well for me, and it probably would do well for you in the future if you are looking to get into training, which I think everybody should. I'll roll in some footage here where we're practicing some 1R1, some 1 round, empty gun reload, 1 round. And that was so Mike could kind of get a baseline of where we were, what our speed was like, what our manipulations were like, because guns react differently. So whether you're using Glocks or SIGs or CZs or something like that, sometimes the magazines come out easier on certain guns than they do on others. And it was kind of nice because I was out there and I can usually run a gun pretty good. I'm not the best in the world, but I am far faster than most people when I go to the range for training and things like that. And you can see where Mike comes up behind me and I'm just shooting, don't know he's there, and he taps me back and says, hey, good job. Then he comes back and says, you know, you need to work on this. He's like, because the release isn't getting any faster, the insertion is not getting any faster. He's like, you need to work the snatch. You need to work getting that magazine in your hand and up to that gun far faster than you are, because you're operating at 2 different speeds.
Ready? So the only thing at your stage, you might want to work on the speed of the snatch. So this is slower and this is faster, right? So it's working at 2 different speeds.
Okay.
So as you're coming back, I'm just working this hand a little faster, which will increase your speed. It's solid. I'm just saying that's your next stage. That's your next evolution.
No, I dig it.
Because where else are you gaining speed? It has to be on your mag acquisition, right? It doesn't go in any faster. So it's just getting to the mag faster. All right, ready?
Now, I had never thought about things that way. I just thought, wow, man, I'm so much faster than the guy to my left and right when I'm out doing quals or something like that. I never thought that I could be just a little bit faster, you know, if I would just grab that magazine a little bit quicker, get that hand off the gun, get that secondary hand to get that magazine and go back to work. So that was kind of nice, because that is an individual thing that I get to work on now going forward to speed me up, which, you know, that little bit of time getting that gun back in the fight could make a life-determining factor for me at some point. The other thing that I picked up that was an instantaneous change for me was my actual grip on the gun. Now, I have never had a problem in my life controlling a gun and getting rounds on target. It was semi-naturally to me. But like I said, I've had surgery on both of these hands. I've messed them up pretty good. I've had some injuries from boxing, from fighting, some things like that. Some nerve issues in there, but I kept looking at Mike and the way he was shooting, and I kept wondering in my head, I'm like, why is this handgun like canted, like a 5-degree cant? And I was kind of curious. I'm like, I know I've seen, you know, a lot of people shoot their rifle kind of canted and cocked a little bit now, and I kept wondering that. And then he brought up one-handed shooting, and one-handed shooting, just about every instructor out there is going to tell you cant your hand a certain degree to put everything in alignment, because it's going to give you a little bit more steadiness when you're firing that gun, especially when you pick up the pace of how you're firing. Now, that never correlated to me to do that 2-handed shooting. And I know Mike won't care I put this out there, because he's put this out there on his own profile before. So basically what he says was, he said, try canting that gun about 5 degrees, you know, in both hands, and then see how you can run it then. And then see how you can run it at speed. And I can tell you, the way I was able to dial that in my hits, even at as fast as I could shoot, from the 3-7 to 10-yard line, I punched out the center of a target like this, shooting as fast as I could. And I have never been able to do that at that rate of speed before, just by making a tilt like this, because what it did was it better worked for what's going on with my body, the physical status of my hands. It was not a strength thing, it was not a grip thing, it was just a mere body mechanics issue, and it was solved just based upon that, which was an instantaneous positive for me, because I left the range thinking, holy crap, that was pretty dang cool. And that was nice, because I actually used that when we went into kind of a fundamentals shooting drill with the dot torture. I know a lot of you guys have seen this out here, and I don't put this up here to brag, but you can see that a lot of these bullets I keyholed in there from different distances, and I would not have been able to do that based on what I know was going on with my grip if I kind of hadn't integrated that in there earlier, which was kind of cool, because since I got 100% on that thing, I was the only one on the line that did that good. I got one of his custom made Neo mags for him, which actually, after using this just in the past day, I did some just playing around in the house, I guess you'd call it LARPing around, doing magazine exchanges with him. That kind of changed my mind. These things are actually pretty cool. I wasn't really into them when I would see them all over at first, but now that I have one, I got a chance to play with it. They're pretty dang legit for concealed carry items. It wasn't just the basics and the fundamentals that we went over there. We had a pretty dang good group of people out there, and the way Mike ran his course was we weren't dumbing the course down to the lowest denominator in there. We were going to keep moving and growing as a group, but we were going to do it at a certain pace and speed. Now, luckily, we had some guys in there with a pretty good level of training for the most part. We had some active DoD guys in there. You had some law enforcement guys in there, and a pretty good group of people that had sought out training on their own, some of which had been to Mike's classes prior. So we ran some pretty good drills, some running around, some cover, some shooting and moving. We got to use those really cool new light up targets of his, which were a thought process thing. And yeah, they're cool because they light up and you know which one to hit, but what it's actively teaching you is when to engage, when not to engage, when to challenge. And that's good because most people are never going to get the opportunity to go through shoot, no shoot scenarios. And I think that is something that is highly beneficial to pretty much everybody out there that carries a gun. Know when to challenge, know when you're going to engage and have your finger on the trigger, and then know when it's a flat out great person that's not an issue, that's not going to be a target, and you just need to tell them to go away. Now, the course that I went to was the Combat Essentials Handgun course, and I think this was a great course for basic, even intermediate, even some advanced guys would probably pick something up. I don't think I'm the most advanced shooter. I don't think I'm the worst shooter. I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I've been better. I've been scary fast at one point in my life, but time takes over and you don't have enough time or enough ammo to train or whatever. But I really think that a lot of people would benefit from going to a course like this. Like I said, I walked away with two specific things. One was an instantaneous change. One is something I'm going to work on to become a better shooter, a better gunfighter that I can win the fight should it come at any point in my life. And I just flat out think that we should always be learning. We should always strive to be better, to do better, and to improve our skills, especially my guys out there that carry a gun for a living, whether you're military, law enforcement, private security contractor, anything like that. You should always want to improve. You should always want to try and take yourself to the next level. Or as you get older, maybe get a little slower, maybe skills diminish, at least keep and maintain the level you're at. You know, if you can't improve, if you can't get any faster, because there are limitations for some people, let's face it, keep that high level or attempt to go to that next level, because that's something that's going to keep you safe, keep those around you safe, and it's just good for you to go out there and have some fun and train and learn maybe a couple new things. Now, would I recommend this training to other people and would I go again? Absolutely. Worth every single penny. Cost me some gasoline, a couple days of my life, a couple $100 for the class, and then a hotel room. And I can tell you right now, the total cost of me driving from Phoenix, Arizona out to California and a hotel stay and the cost of that was cheaper than I can attend probably the same level of course here in my state. Absolutely exceptional value for the course. Some of the definite positives were that it was sized appropriately. Some classes that are maybe a little bit cheaper in that $300 to $500 range, they try to jam 20, 30, even bigger courses in there, and you're getting zero one-on-one instruction, or it's just one of those really basic courses where an instructor's saying something to the effect of, this is the way to do this. And for me, when someone says this is the way to do this, I generally run for the hills because there's usually more than one way to do this. That's just the thing that they're stuck in, whether it's institutional inbreeding or failure to keep up with current tactics or whatever's going on out there. But anytime someone's telling you this is the way, unless there's a very specific legal reason or something's going on, generally that can be something that's very scary for most trained people to hear, because there's just usually too many ways to do things. Some may be better than others, and some things may work better for certain people. One of the other good things was definitely that he had some help out there. He had a couple RSOs that were pretty well trained and very good shooters from what I saw. So that lets them take care of the range safety and him really look at the students and give them what they need. Now that's awesome because you're going to get that one-on-one if you need it. If he sees a deficiency or he sees something that he can give you, he's going to give you that. Like I said, he went down and checked us on multiple different things as we were doing different courses of fire and drills. And he had something for everybody. And the way he gave that information, displayed that, showed it, I think everybody there understood it. And I think everybody there was very happy to get that information from him when he gave it to them. In all, I really think that if you're in the California area, or if you're even like in a neighboring state, I think we had one guy fly in from Washington to take the course while I was there. I don't think you can go wrong with his class. And I know everybody seems to have their favorite instructors out there or people they want to go train with or everything like that. And people do divide over that. There are people out there that have one methodology of training. Some people have another. And you can see those battles on social media where they're crap talking each other and going back and forth. I don't want anything to do with that. I just want to learn. I want to have fun. I want to go out there. I want to shoot some rounds. I want to take something home with me. I want to have a good time. I want to make some friends out there on the range, because I've made some very good friends in training environments previously. And that's something I look for as well, building the community, building our, bolstering our community out there. Those are things that we should look for, that we should want to do. Then you're going to have friends. You're going to have friends that you're going to meet out of these scenarios that you may meet in matches later, you may work with later if you're in the career field. And I think that's all something that we should strive for and that we should look for when it comes to not only training, but just in life as a general. Now, wrapping it back around, guys, to your rights and your responsibilities. Everybody has the right to carry a gun. There's an argument between our rights alienable, are they unalienable? Well, we alienate people's rights. There are convicted felons that can't carry guns, and there are convicted felons that can't vote. That's left up to society. There's some constitutionality there for that. I can tell you in the state of Arizona where I live, we had a previously convicted felon who got his rights restored and saved a police officer's life that was involved in a shootout. And that previously convicted felon who got his rights restored killed the bad guy. So there's a process for everything, guys, and good people is determined by the quality and the character of that person, whether they've made a mistake in their life or not. So when it comes to our responsibility, guys, I think it's pretty cut and dry. We have a responsibility to keep ourselves up to date and to train and to try and do and be better, to help our brothers, be our brother's keeper, to do things the right way. And I think that a lot of people have lost sight of that in the 2A argument and some of those things. And I really hope that changes because of everything that's going on in the world today and the fact that people are coming for our rights. Let's just flat out face it. I was scared to drive in California. I'm going to admit it to you, with all the ammo and the magazines and the guns that I had, because I don't know what's going on in California, and Newsom just signed like a couple more laws while I was there. So that was kind of odd, even though I'm covered under federal law to be there, still a little bit sketchy because the state's kind of in a weird place, and that's because of the lawmakers, not the law officers out there. So, really weird things going on. Now, your rights. Yes, you have a right to go out there and be an untrained idiot with a gun. Much as you have the right to, walk around and say stupid things. But just because you have a right to do it, you have a right to be an a-hole, doesn't mean you should be. You have responsibility to be a decent person and a citizen. And if you're carrying a gun, you have a right to, and I think you also have a responsibility to be a decent citizen and a well-trained citizen while you're carrying that gun. So I hope you guys liked, the video. I hope you guys liked kind of hearing something about this training company. I will be doing more of these as I continue to go out and kind of train with some different companies. And I really want to bring you that information, like I said, because I want you guys to be able to make informed decisions, not only about the guns you want to buy, the parts you want to buy, but what is just as big of an aspect as buying the gun is training with it and where to go for that training and how much you can afford for that training, because those are all going to be determining factors. And I'm going to try and get to different parts of the country to train with different companies. So that way, if you live on the East Coast or the Pacific Northwest or down in the Southwest like me, you can kind of go around, because a lot of people out there talk about this company is great to train with or that company is great to train with, but they've never really gone and done videos about what they learned or what they did. I know there are some great names out there that people have promoted. I don't want to promote those companies yet because I've never trained there. I've got plans to go to a few bigger named companies and do some training and bring you the information that I can. Hopefully they'll let me use my camera there. If they do, I will bring you footage. If not, then I will just do a tabletop of what I learned, what I thought of their methodology and instruction. Guys, get out there, have a lot of fun on the range. Seek out some training. Try to find something that's going to work for you. Subscribe to the channel, guys. I really appreciate the growth we've had here, and I will see you guys on the next one.